How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame. We are back with another FPL stream today, and this is going to be the last stream before the deadline stream. That is right. Just over a week from now, we will be having to lock in our teams for the first game week. The first FPL game week will start a week tomorrow, and I couldn't be more excited. We're going to look at some stats today. We're going to look at some new transfers that people have been making in terms of like the actual teams have been making. And we're also going to take a look at some interesting stats for some key wingbacks that may be on the pricier side, some of which are swap teams, some of which may be a lock-in for some teams, but will the stats actually show that? We're going to take a look into it as well. We're also just going to bring up a bunch of different more expensive wingbacks overall. I'm just kind of filling up the table here as we speak. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at some of those, and we're gonna see how good those players actually are. Defenders mainly, but we're gonna take a look at some midfielders and strikers as well. So without further ado, let's check out the team. So we got my team up on the screen here. I haven't changed it since. We're going to do some tinkering to start with, and we're going to kind of talk about some of the new signings that people have been bringing in for the clubs due to newer news and stuff like that, and we'll see kind of how they could potentially fit in. There's been rumors of some other signings as well. Some clubs are saying that they've still got more left to do, and we'll kind of take that into consideration. There's also some potential bargain goalkeepers maybe, so we'll see about that as well. One in particular that's potentially rumored, that's a 4 million goalkeeper, could be quite good. So yeah, let's go to the transfer screen. Let's start off there. So I want to take a just kind of interesting kind of thing here. So Button is actually rumored to be going to potentially to West Brom. So keep an eye on him. I would say if he might not play over the current West Brom goalkeeper, but you never know. He might play over Johnston. You never know. They might bring in Button because they know he has Premier League experience, and they might think he's potentially a better goalkeeper than Johnston. So maybe something there, but that's just something we have to kind of take a look at. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to run through some of the new signings. So I'm just going to run through the teams just so I can remind myself. So Arsenal still haven't brought anyone in yet. However, there is still rumors going on that Martinez could be the goalkeeper, the starting goalkeeper, and if he is, 4.5 for the first two fixtures look to be quite good. But Arsenal, remember, defensively have been a lot better. They've been a lot better than what they were. They showed the resilience versus Liverpool. Mind you, Liverpool weren't all that in terms of their attack, but Martinez can pull off a few saves, and he's quite a good shot stopper. Commands his area, passes up from the back extremely well, and could be something, a good bargain there at 4.5. Is his fixtures as good as McCarthy's? No, but his team's probably going to be better defensively now that they have Gabriel in. They got Saliba back, who was out on loan all last season. Gained a bit more experience. They're going to have David Luiz in between the two, who plays way better in a back three, and I think they'll go with that system for now, eventually transitioning into a back four. And then Tierney's another hot prospect. If he can keep fit, he's definitely on everyone's radar because he 5.5, he's cheaper than Doherty, he's way cheaper than Robertson, he's way cheaper than Trent Alexander-Arnold. So we have him on our table, which we'll be looking at in a little bit. In terms of Aston Villa, they're rumored to potentially be getting Sergio Romero from Manchester United. Now that could be quite interesting as well, because I believe Romero is 5'5", if I'm not mistaken. He's 5 million, so 5 million goalkeeper for Aston Villa. Probably not great, but Romero is a very good shot stopper in his own right, but could change up some things there, could ruin some plans. Heaton obviously coming back from a long-term injury. Maybe they keep Romero on loan, wait for Heaton to get back full fitness, and then go from there. But currently, people are kind of saying that Steer could be potentially the left back. So we'll have to see about that. Not the left back, the goalkeeper over in Ireland. I'm not so sure about that. They're both 4 million. If there is any inclination that either of them are going to be the you know, the goalkeeper, the starting goalkeeper, then we'll have to kind of take a look at that. Next up, we have. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make this screen just a little bit smaller here, just so we can see the transfers that I'm kind of looking at. So I'm just gonna move them across there so you guys can see that. Should be able to see that. Yeah, so you can see which players I'm searching, and I'll put it back to the full team after the fact. So next, like we said, Brighton. Have they brought anyone in? They brought in Lallana, but he's not going to be groundbreaking, I don't think. Burnley's in it. Chelsea, well, Chelsea's brought in 1 billion players. Chilwell is still potentially out for a little bit, but another player that's been cropping up and looking better and better in preseason is this young lad here, Reece James, 5 million, and is extremely attacking. If they go with a back three, you know, with maybe like they play like Thiago Silva one side and then like Rudiger and Zuma the other. They play Reece James at right wing back. They play Chilwell at left wing back. They play like Conte, Kovacic, and then they play like Werner, Ziyech, and Havertz like as a front three. That could be insane while Pulisic is out. And then they'll probably revert to a back four when Pulisic is back in the side. So could be great value potentially in defense, especially if Reece James. If Reece James is nailed, he might be included in my team as well. No doubt about that. And then obviously, you know, Werner's, you know, just scores for fun. He's probably one of my top 3 candidates for Golden Boot potential this year. Ziyech looks to be quite a good asset. As well at 8 million. You know, the deep lying cross is extremely good for the likes of Werner, who likes to get inside the box and take a lot of shots. And Ziyech's injury doesn't seem to be as bad as what they initially had thought. It was just precautionary. They brought him on. But so it's interesting to know when Pulisic could be coming back. I'd be tempted to bring him in from the start, but I think he might miss the first couple. So we'll have to see from there and reassess. But yeah, definitely could be like a Chilwell / Reece James type look in for Chelsea here with their defenders, you know, coming in at the same price as their goalkeepers, and they're basically just going to be extreme wingers, and you know, crossing the ball into Timo Werner, Ziyech, Havertz, you know, these types of players. Pulisic, they're going to put the ball away. Abraham, you know, Hudson-Odoi, you know, Loftus-Cheek, these types of players don't have as much experience or aren't as prolific at these sorts of players at this level. You know, Havertz is I think he's only 21, but even still, these guys are going to be putting the ball in the back of net. So you can expect some clean sheets, and some you know, points from Reece James there as well. Crystal Palace, they signed that the new 6 million midfielder. I think it's Easy. I think is how you pronounce his name. Eberechi Easy, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I could be completely butchering that. But he's the 6 million. I would like to see him come in at 5.5. Maybe we would have been tempted there, but Crystal Palace, I think, could be in bad shape. Ferguson is another one that picked up an injury as well, or had an injury, I think. We're not sure what he's looking like potentially, and his return date. So we'll have to pay attention to that. But Mitchell looks to be a good prospect in place of Patrick Van Arnholt, because he's still out with his shoulder dislocation. So, I mean, going based off this, the back four is going to be Mitchell, Dan, Kelly, and Ward, because those look like the only fit players. Now, I could be completely wrong in that, and some of these red flags could be unwarranted. But, yeah, I think that's what we're kind of looking at here. Next on, Everton. Everton is making waves in the transfer window as well. So they're basically bringing in pretty much a new midfield. So they're bringing in Abdoulaye Doucouré from Watford, who's a box-to-box style of midfielder. They're bringing in Allen. For those who don't know, he used to play for Napoli. He is also a box-to-box midfielder. Very good creative, very smooth on the ball, a very good technician with it. And lastly, James Rodriguez, who, as we know, has been ousted at Real Madrid, has good moments when he's fit, and I think that could make a certain Calvert-Lewin be good at his price. Now, if we look across the whole season, Calvert-Lewin's numbers were pretty decent. He gets a lot of chances. He's like a Patrick Bamford in a sense. He gets a lot of chances. They may not necessarily be the best chances, but he does get a lot of them. If the chances are, a lot better, or he's got a much more stable midfield that's just more workmanlike and feeding the ball into him and Richarlison, that could prove to be quite good for him. So they could potentially, play a midfield diamond, like a 4-4-2 style. So they have their back four, then they have like Andre Gomez at the base of the defense, and then they have the likes of Decore and Allen on either side of like the the box-to-box roles, and then James just in front, and then you have a front two of Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, and you get the width from Digne and Coleman there. So that could prove to be quite effective. So we'll have to see kind of how that plays out. I think Richarlison's probably a bit much at 8 million, but this could mean, like, if Calvert-Lewin's getting much better chances, or even Moise Kean, if he's the the favorite one. But I think that Calvert-Lewin is going to be the favored one here. And yeah, so I think that's probably going to be the best option there. If James comes in at 8 million, maybe tempted there, but then you're just kind of picking, well, are you going to pick Ziyech in a team full of all-stars, basically, or are you going to pick, or Ziyech, however you pronounce the name, or James, who's going to, relying on Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, and everything kind of has to go through him. Whereas Chelsea, they have Havertz, they have Werner that can create as well, Ziyech can create, Pulisic will definitely create, so definitely going to be some interesting stuff there as well. The next team, Fulham, not really too much going on here. It's pretty much just, do you want Mitrovic or not? And his, he starts off quite decently, but Fulham in the championship, some of the stuff that came out from the Scoutcast said that basically the away from home fixtures, Fulham don't score very much at all, whereas at home they do. I think that's how it was put. It was one way or the other, but basically the fixtures aren't as good on paper to start off with, and Fulham, everything goes to Mitrovic, and if they start bad, then he's not going to score at all and could potentially lose his head, even though his disciplinary record has been better. Leeds have made a few signings, so they brought in Robin Koch, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's coming in at center back, which most likely means that Dallas will play left back / utility man as well, which is good news, potentially. Meslier is the starting goalkeeper. That's pretty much been confirmed by Leeds fans as well. Also, they brought in Rodrigo, who comes in at 6 million. Many Leeds fans still think that Bamford will start because it's all about the system, and that's how Bielsa plays, and he's going to go with that. And I think that, to start the season, the first few, you'll definitely see Bamford in there. And even with, droughts in goals for Bamford, missing chances, if he's still doing the pressing, if he's still linking up play, you'll definitely see him starting game in, game out. If he isn't, providing the goods up front, at least he's providing it for others. So yeah, Leicester, I think Vardy might be just a bit too expensive. Still keeping an eye on Iheanacho. I don't think he's going to be a starter though, which is a bit unfortunate. And then obviously we still have the likes of James Justin, who's still in there as well. But I don't think Leicester are going to be as good this season, unfortunately. Liverpool could be, not really too much going on, but a lot of people are looking at double Liverpool defense. People are tinkering around. They're saying, well, would I rather a 7 million midfielder and or 7 million defender versus a 7 million midfielder? And there's arguments to be said, who's going to score more points? Well, Robertson and Trent have shown that they're scoring more points than most 7 million midfielders, so might be better to take one of those instead to start the season, even if Liverpool aren't keeping clean sheets off the start. Man City haven't made any transfers. Recently they've done Torres and Ake, a few weeks ago, but Nothing really moving there. United have brought in Donny van der Beek. I don't think he's in FPL yet. I don't see him there. So he's going to be probably starting off the bench initially. He may play instead of Pogba because Pogba tested positive. So maybe he comes in just for the first couple of game weeks. I think he's priced at 7 million, so could be maybe an interesting punt there. You know, but he'll Pogba will probably be back by the time we go to play. And then maybe Pogba gets subbed off early, so wouldn't expect too much there. Still keeping an eye on Jadon Sancho. There was a guy that leaked he leaked some media stuff that was saying like the signing of Sancho to be announced on the 14th or something like that of September, with like the splashes of him doing like the celebration like this. So we'll see how it works. But if it's ever gonna be a week that they're gonna sign him, I'm just double checking it here. It's gonna be like the week of the start of the season, probably somewhere between the 7th and the 18th will probably be when United are going to sign him, because after that it's probably hopeless for United to even think about signing him, because they don't sign anyone you know, mid-season. So or they'll do a rush deal for Josh King or something on the last day of the transfer window, so we'll see about that. Shaw's back in training, so he could also be another option. I forgot to put him actually in the table. I will do that though. Next we have Newcastle again. Apart from St. Maximin, not really too much going on there. Sheffield United. Now Sheffield United's an interesting one. Ramsdale is getting, you know, people are going from the McCarthy back to Ryan to Ramsdale. There's a lot of debate around goalkeepers, and I think Ramsdale could be quite good, especially since Sheffield United, with their current batch of players, typically set up for like a 1-0 type of, you know, victory. Basically, they don't really have any prolific forwards in that sense, and you know their midfield is very workmanlike, so they're going to be going for like a 1-0. They're going to try to keep the clean sheet first, very similar to Burnley in that sense. When they do attack, they're okay. They just need somebody on the end of it. And McBurney, Musette, McGoldrick, Sharp, Callum Robinson. You know, these aren't like prolific players. Probably the best out of all of them is Musette, or Musset, however you pronounce it. So, if anything, you're gonna pick like Egan or Basham or O'Connell or Baldock or Stevens, but you would just pick Ramsdale because he's gonna get some saves as well. That's another thing. His fixtures off the first 3 are decent. Then he has, you know, he's going to get some saves against Arsenal for sure. Could keep a clean sheet at Fulham. He's going to get some saves in these games. They might get battered, but that's the risk you take. And that's pretty much the rough patch. 8 through 6, 6 through 8 rather, is the rough patch. And then after that, it's pretty free sailing up until when you basically want to get rid of him. Next up, we have Southampton. Southampton are looking more and more confident, I think, in preseason as well as towards the end of the season when they started. There's a lot of discussion over Che Adams. If he's nailed, he could be a very useful asset, but I think Ings is just a better segue into a forward that you might want. So let's say you're waiting on Werner. Let's say you don't want to keep Werner in your team to start. Just need 1 million to bring in Werner. Also, Ings is only 0.5 off of Martial. Another option there. You're going to be bringing in United assets in game week 2. And then you also have... So there was another argument of Ward-Prowse versus the likes of Armstrong. And I think that Armstrong could provide a little bit better because of the fact that he plays... he does play off the right, but he does come in a lot and could be providing... and does like a long-range shot. Ward-Prowse is more of a set-piece player and plays a bit more like centrally, but like slightly behind those guys. So I think that's kind of what you're looking at. And then McCarthy obviously is, got pretty good fixtures for the most part, and seems to be the most popular goalkeeper in that regard. Spurs, have Spurs made any transfers since which? Oh, right, they made the certain Matt Doherty in my team. He had this color jersey on, an orange one, and it had a Wolves logo on it the last time I had him in the team. But yeah, he could be quite good at 6 million. A lot of people are also looking at Davies potentially. 5 million could be quite good as well. Aurier is most likely going to be being shipped back out to Italy. And a lot of people are kind of disregarding Kane. A lot of people are disregarding Son. There's more interest being picked up about Dele Alli. Because in preseason, when everyone is fit, Kane plays up top, Son plays out wide, keeps the width, and looks for, because Davies or Davis, I don't know how to pronounce it, he doesn't go as high up the pitch, and Ali plays as a second striker, and then you'll have who was Aurier, but now it's going to be Doherty, is going to be bombing up the right hand side, because usually they play an inverted forward out on the right hand side. So you'll have the likes of Lucas Moura likes to come in centrally. Lamela likes to cut in. Bergwijn, same thing. Likes to cut in, and also make link up plays with the and uses pace. So could be very interesting there. West Brom. So they put Pereira in the game here. Matthias Pereira. He's basically the talisman. He's the one that you're kind of looking at, if anything. And the goalkeeper, as we if Button goes there and he's the starter. West Ham, a lot of people have Souček in their team, and I'm not sure why. I know he's 5 million, but you know, this sea of fixtures doesn't look good to me personally. Arsenal have been better defensively. Wolves are good defensively. Leicester away is going to be tough. Spurs away is going to be even harder. Man City at home, that's just not going to be pretty. Liverpool away is probably not great either. Fulham at home, okay, yeah, sure. Sheffield United away, that's going to be a tough ask. Aston Villa at home, okay. Man United at home, historically okay. And then you probably want him in for these games here. These ones here. So this is like after the Christmas period when rotation's done and he's going to be in there week in, week out. You probably want him in there. And a lot of people are playing Antonio. I think it's better to just have Danny Ings. More prolific of a goal scorer. Is definitely going to be playing through the middle. And you know, he's going to allow you to you know, keep the money for the likes of a Martial upgrade. John Wick, how am I? I am doing fantastic. 1 week, just over 1 week, sorry, away from the new season starting. Some tinkering we're going to be doing in just a second here, so you came just in time. And we've just been going through some the transfers that people have been making in the real world for the teams. So yeah, it's looking quite nice here. And then lastly, Wolves, they need to fix some problems. They lost their left wing back due to injury in Johnny. They lost the right wing back who went to Spurs. So I'm not sure how they're gonna set up. So we'll have to see about that. But I think Vinagre at 4.5, he's just gonna be a good cheap option. If you can avoid playing him in the first two, it's probably better. Maybe the first one is probably okay, but apart from that, we shall see how it kind of pans out. But yeah, let's get to tinkering with the team. So I'm just gonna expand this back open here, just so you guys can see the team a little bit better and how much value we have. So one thing that people are kind of tinkering with is it's all about, so that as the title says, what formation is best. So I'm starting to think that 3-4-3 might not be the most optimal use of your money, and here's why. So if you look at all of the midfielders and defenders that are in the price bracket of like the 6.5, 7.5, 8 million type of midfielders, there are some that are question marks because of them being introduced recently into the league, like Ziyech. We know Ziyech's going to be good, but you know, if James comes in at 8 million, he's potential injuries. Some of the Everton mids are 8 million. You know, 7.5. There's only really Mason Greenwood. Now, yes, they've given him the number 11 shirt, but he has a blank in game week 1, and you probably want to bring in maybe Fernandes or Martial, spend your money that way potentially. Phil Foden's probably the only good one at 6.5, but is he going to get the amount of starts, or City going to actually do what they said they were going to do and buy a boatload of players? They only bought 2. I'm expecting at least 20 more. and which is standard for City. Yeah, Havertz as well. We don't know what price he's coming in. Havertz comes in at 9.5. Where, how are we going to deal with that? You know, yes, Havertz could be. You bring him in for the first 3 or 4, and then swap him out for a United asset. But again, you might want to keep Havertz. That's another thing. He's probably going to play right in behind Werner. So having Havertz and Werner together, Havertz assist, Werner goal could be one of the most popular combinations of the way Chelsea's scoring this season. So he is another one. I don't think he's in. I don't think they've announced his price yet, or he's in the game. I'll just double check just to be sure. No, because I think he'd come in a midfielder. But if I had to guess, I would say he's probably going to be a similar-ish price to Werner. He's going to be 9 or 9.5, and that puts an interesting span in the works, because then you're looking at Son, who was 9 million, Havertz coming in at 9 million. Then you got to make a decision there. So if you're going Ziyech, Havertz, Werner, and you're going to use your Ziyech spot to maybe get Mason Greenwood, or your Havertz spot to get Rashford, that's a way in. The only problem is that if you want to look to get, maybe Reece James, maybe Ben Chilwell, maybe even Thiago Silva, then you have some problems potentially there as well. And then you can't really go with the strategy I'm about to mention, because then you won't have enough midfield slots. You have to go cheaper midfield. So this is what I'm gonna show you. So we're gonna keep the goalkeepers just the same, and we're gonna get rid of Justin, and we're gonna get rid of Saint Maximin, and we're gonna get rid of nobody else. So a lot of people are saying like that, Robertson and Trent at 7 and 7.5 million, are they going to score more points than most midfielders at that price? Yes. Are they going to score more points than most strikers at that price? Yes, of course they are, because their attacking return is insane. So one way that people are kind of tinkering around and changing the way their team kind of works is you keep in a little bit extra to upgrade Ings potentially. You still keep Mitrovic, you still keep Werner, and then you go with a much cheaper midfield. What's another 4.5? I'm just gonna put Basuma in there, just for argument's sake. And then what you're looking at playing is oh, that was another thing that I meant to do. Where is Dallas? So what a lot of people are looking at now is playing 4-4-2 potentially off the start, or 4-3-3 is another one. So you play Doherty, Robertson, Trent, and then a 4.5. Aubameyang, Salah, cheap midfielder that's attacking like Saint Maximin or Souček or whoever in there, and then you have your front three. So with this form, with the way this is set out, I would have to go 0.5 cheaper. So in order to alleviate money for potentially having somebody like for upgrade money. So if I'm gonna have an upgrade, let's say we get rid of Ings, and let's say for argument's sake, Che Adams is nailed. I'm just gonna pick just a 6 million forward. Now, yes, you can't go from Che Adams straight up to well, potentially we can. If we do get Souček right off the start, you can go from Che Adams straight up to Martial. You can upgrade Mitrovic straight up to Martial. These are these types of options that you can. The only thing you can't do is swap around the way your midfield works, which is why we can make some kind of changes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I'm going to get what's his trying to remember what his name was. Madison, that's the one. No, not Madison. Harvey Barnes. I was thinking of the other midfielder. And you get rid of one of these midfielders. Souček comes in as another 4.5 midfielder. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Midfielders, 4.5. I'll just put in Stevens from Brighton. And then you can go with maybe like a Calvert-Lewin or something in your 7 million midfield slot. So there's some changes that you can do, and it will allow for, you know, different style of formation. If you also drop drop Calvert-Lewin down to a 6 million, and then you say Robertson is here's another option. Let's say Reece James is nailed. So we go in, we got Reece James in there. And then now you're looking at, you got 2 million in the bank. You can upgrade Calvert-Lewin potentially after the first game. Let's say, I mean, you can even have, I'm trying to think, let's go to, you can have Antonio in the first game. Antonio is a prime example. Somebody you can upgrade straight away. Antonio can go straight up to Martial. You can also take that 2.5 million and you can upgrade Harvey Barnes immediately straight into Marcus Rashford as well, and just kind of have Antonio tick along with his points, because if he does badly, okay, you just swap him out for another 6 million, 6 million forward. And then you play 4-4-2, and then you swap out your 4 million and your 4.5 defender as needed. Obviously, Ferguson would be somebody else that's fit, and hopefully a 4 million. And then basically your 4.5s, they're going to tick over. They're going to get you points off your bench if you do have a player missing. For players that are going to play, like Stevens, these types of players are going to be in there. And then Barnes, you can, the second you get Barnes, it's good fixture. First good fixture, West Brom away. Cool, they batter West Brom, let's say. Take him out, bang, straight in for Rashford. If you even wanted to wait and let him have his or have an even even alleviate more money if you wanted to, you could go instead of Doherty, and you can go with Davies from Spurs, who is going to be less attacking, but is still a Spurs defender, is 1 million cheaper, and it also allows you to go from Harvey Barnes straight to Bruno Fernandes if you want to. That's another option that you can do as well. So it's different formations there. I think 4-3-3 is becoming quite popular. 4-4-2, as John Wick has mentioned, with a cheap defense, 2 premium mids, Son or Havertz, 2 forwards. Yeah, that's also quite popular as well. Let's actually bring that. I'm gonna bring that up on screen. So 4-4-2. So we'll get rid of Davies. We'll see if we can keep a 5 million defender in there. So let's go for that. Restore player. So you had 2 premium mids. I'll put in Son just because he's going to be probably similar-ish to Havertz's price. 2 premium forwards, so we'll get rid of Antonio. We'll put in Ings, and then you can just put in 2 4-5s. The only problem with this is that if you wanted to go from Ings to Martial, let's say, or Son to Rashford, you need to keep 0.5 in the bank, and that's very easy to do because you can just get rid of James and have a 4.5 defender in Justin or something like that. If you wanted to bank even a bit more, you could leave the option to go Martial. You could downgrade Mitrovic to Brewster as well, especially if Brewster gets a loan to Sheffield United, which I'm not sure how far along that deal is or if it's going to happen. We could definitely be looking at something quite good there. So it could be quite a good asset. And you know, Brewster's going to get some points if he does stay at Liverpool. He's going to get a point every now and again off the bench. He is another striker. He's different to the likes of Firmino. So if we look at, I'm just going to look at Liverpool just in general. So if you look, they have a lot of midfielders, all different types: center midfielders, defensive midfielders, wide midfielders, inside forwards. And then if you look up front, you have Firmino, who kind of links up play. Origi's kind of not really a number 9. He kind of plays in off the left. Again, another inside forward type player. And then you have Brewster, who's just out and out. Like, he plays through the middle. That's where Mason Greenwood's going to play too, eventually in his career. And he could open up for that. And then you leave yourself with $2 million in the bank. Like you said, you could play 4-4-2. So we can potentially, I'll just upgrade Basuma to a 5-5 midfielder. And then you're looking at $1 million, you know, in the bank here. That can go from Ings straight up to Martial with 0.5 left over. You can go from, you know, Saint Maximin straight to Phil Foden. That is another option there. You can still potentially upgrade Son to Rashford as well. Yeah, Son straight to Havertz. If Havertz comes in at 10 million, I don't think he's gonna be 10 million. You know, that's a whole nother thing there as well. I think he's gonna be, if I had to guess, he might. The thing is, he might be 10 million. I mean, but the thing is, Werner's 9.5. He's a prolific goal scorer. Yes, Havertz has done it for, you know, 1 and a bit seasons or thereabouts. Can they really price him higher than Rashford? I think you're probably more in line. He'll probably be, if he's 9 million, this formation could be very good, because you could go, let's say if you want to start off with Son, you can have Son or Havertz in there, and then if one's, you know, like if Havertz is getting all these points, you bring in Havertz for Son, no problem. And you can also bring out Ings and put in Martial as well. Or you can be like, Havertz is kind of playing a bit deeper. He's kind of being the, you know, not as a true number, like a second striker. You can still have Son in there. And then you can say, okay, after the first game week, I'm going to take Son out and put in Rashford as an example. 8 million like Bruno. The thing is, though, I think they might price him the same as Pulisic, potentially. Potentially. I'm not sure, but I just have that hunch. He'll be 8.5. I think he's going to be in the range of 8.5 to 9.5, I think. That's my thing. And the reason I say that is because Rashford and Martial were the same price. Or Rashford was slightly higher, but in the forward slot. And I don't think they'll make that same mistake again. By that wide of a margin, because I think Martial was 7.5 and Rashford was like 8.5. So I think that's the most that they'll do it, and I think that they'll slowly realize that that's probably a bad idea. So I think they might just price him at 9 or 9.5 just for just safety, and I think that's still a fair price in just all things considered. Because of the fact that, you know, he's got Werner on the end of his you know, his you know, the balls that he's going to be playing into the box. Werner's going to get so many chances, it's ridiculous. And I think he's going to genuinely win the Golden Boot this year if he stays fit. He'll definitely win it. Like, Aguero's going to miss a month or two to like a hamstring or a knee injury of some kind. Aubameyang will be up in and around it. I don't think Vardy will replicate what he had from before. I'm just going to make these transfers just because you can. Okay, so I'm going to put in... Just put Dallas in there. But, yeah. Yeah, I think 4-4-2 and 4-3-3 are becoming a little bit more popular. The only problem with that, though, is yes, it does leave you flexible in terms of like bringing in United and City players. The problem is that what happens if you know, United and City players, there's a lot of them that are good. And then you have to start making choices. You know, Bruno's going to be harder to get than Rashford and Martial. Maybe Bruno's just like in the box all the time, getting shots inside the box. You know, Manchester United's back in full flow. You know, he's getting set piece after set piece because they keep fouling Martial, they keep fouling Rashford, they maybe keep fouling. We haven't even talked about Jadon Sancho, really. He could potentially come in. What happens if he comes in at 10.5 million, or even 10 million, or even scarier? Maybe he comes in at the same price as Rashford at 9.5 million. That's a whole nother kettle of fish there that we gonna have to think about as well. Because then you're kind of choosing, okay, well, game week 2 onwards, am I choosing Son? Am I choosing Havertz? Am I choosing Rashford? Am I choosing Sancho? What happens if Mahrez starts for City as well? Then you got to choose Mahrez potentially as well, because we know he's very good. It's a bit, you know, a bit hard to think. Havertz and Martial will score more than Bruno. I'm not so sure, but in terms of like actual like goals, assists, it depends. Because I think Timo Werner will be on penalties, but I think Bruno will be on penalties. Will Havertz be on set pieces? Probably Ziyech will be on set pieces for a left footer, and then for a right footer, I don't know if Werner took free kicks, but Havertz. I know Havertz takes free kicks and pens. I know he definitely takes pens for when he played for Leverkusen, and Werner took pens for Leipzig. So we'll have to see. But is United going to get 14 penalties again? Probably not. Can United easily get double digit in penalties? Yeah, they can. And is Bruno going to score all of them? You're damn straight he is. So I think he's going to be still pretty good. It's just, can Bruno Fernandes keep it up? That's the thing. Because remember, we only saw 8 games pretty much. We saw post-restart worth of Bruno Fernandes and a little bit before. And his numbers were just as good as Kevin De Bruyne's. And we know how good Kevin De Bruyne is. So, and now that we have, you know, against the worst teams, you know, you can go into a game. Let's say you're playing. I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's take Fulham, for example. You know, newly promoted team. They, when they're away from home, like to sit in and kind of soak it up and kind of hit teams on the break. United can go there and be like, okay, well, we know that Maguire or potentially a new center back or Lindelof should be able to handle Mitrovic. Should. We can go out there and play Van der Beek as our CDM, who's going to be a deep line playmaker, alongside Pogba with Bruno ahead of them. So you just have this creativity triangle. And then you just have Mason Greenwood, who's ridiculous in close spaces. Martial, who can always seemingly win a penalty. And then Rashford, who was pretty rubbish post-restart and was still injured. So you can only imagine how good he can be. So, and remember, these guys are only like 23. Like Rashford's 23 or 24, I think. Martial's similar age. Greenwood's only 18. Donny van der Beek is 23 going 24. Pogba's in his prime. Bruno's going 26, I think. So, like, next season is going to be ridiculous. And just a casual Jadon Sancho if he comes in at age 21 when you have Mason Greenwood coming off the bench. You know, that could end up being something insane. Like, United's front three score more goals than Liverpool. Now, that's a stat. Is United's front three better than Liverpool's on a you know, at their best day? Probably not. I don't think. You know, Salah, Mane, Firmino, they're pretty quality. And United's front three is still a bit young. Now, in a couple years' time, that could definitely change in terms of like peak Salah, Mane, Firmino versus peak Greenwood or potentially Sancho, Rashford, Martial. Could be looking at a completely different beast. So And that being said, Chelsea's front three, Ziyech, Werner, and Pulisic with Havertz in behind them. Pretty scary stuff. City have to be paying attention to what Chelsea are doing, because there's a very good chance if Chelsea keep their defensive record not as atrocious as what it was, you know, we could be looking at a team potentially closing the gap very swiftly. Because if you look at the things that they've fixed, they basically got a whole new front four. They're going to play 4-2-3-1 when everyone's fit. You'll have Werner up top with Ziyech out wide right, who can flip and flop with Pulisic on either side. Havertz just in behind. Kovacic and Conte playing the double pivot, with Kovacic just kind of pressing a little bit more forward and Conte playing like the sweeper role. Chilwell wide out on the left flank. Reece James out on the right flank, who can both bomb forward. And then just a solid Thiago Silva and Rudiger. And if they get this goalkeeper, I think it's from Rennes, I think it is. They could be looking at a completely different team. If Messi and City, could they beat the Invincibles and a dead FP? Yeah, basically everyone would just get Messi and just captain him. That's how it would work. But Messi came out today and says he can't leave. He said he came out today that he says he's not able to leave because he doesn't want to get into a legal battle or something. Because his contract states that he could leave at the end of every season for free if he wants to, give in a specific month. And I believe the month was June. But with all the stuff that's been happening, the transfer window got pushed back. So it technically wasn't June. So he can't do that release for free. So they have to pay the release clause, which is like 700 million euros or something stupid, right? So I think he has 1 year left on his contract. So I think he's going to let that run down. And then you may see him go someplace else next season. So that's when FPL will be dead. But yes, Messi, remember, Messi's 33, going 34. He's a very technical player. He's not going to have his speed forever, which is what makes him so lethal. So could be interesting. But yeah, for now, we just have to deal with the all-star team of Chelsea, who have good fixtures to start and could be quite good. It's just going to be a matter of how much they decimate teams by and how good their defense can hold up. Because Chilwell in his own right, not the greatest defensively, but very good going forward. Reece James, same thing. Thiago Silva brings stability, but will he adapt to the pace of the Premier League? And how will the other center back cope? And can they replace Kepa? Because Kepa is useless. So they need a goalkeeper that can play out from the back, really, who has decent distribution. They just need to, like, if they took if they actually had bought Dean Henderson, that would have probably been quite good for them. But I think they need like Martinez from Arsenal was touted to be leaving the club. He's very good with his feet in terms of like passing, calmness on the ball, playing it off the back. You could tell he's Argentinian. You could tell. So yeah, could be definitely something interesting there. Anyway, let's get on to the table that I have. Hopefully it's up here. Yeah, so you should be able to see it. I might have to minimize some things here. So we had Shaw was in there that we wanted to put in there. Did we put Reece James? Reece James. Did I put Chilwell in yet? Nope, didn't put Chilwell. Ben Davies from Spurs. I put in Doherty. Just trying to think if there's anyone else. I put in Wan-Bissaka. Put in the Liverpool. I think that's all I wanted to put in there. So hopefully this shows a good. No, I clicked on a player and I didn't want to. Okay, well while that's loading. Basically what I was going to do is I was going to look at XGI for all the different types of attacking fullbacks. And it actually shows that Doherty is potentially more involved than any of them. Yeah, I just have to search for all of them again. So we have Ben Davies, we have Doherty from while he's for Wolves on here. But Spurs, we have Reece James. We have Chilwell. We have United's in Wan-Bissaka, who did improve his attacking output. We have who's the other one? Shaw. Then you have Liverpool, obviously Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. We have Tierney. I'm not going to put in Bellerin because he might be linked away from the club as well. Am I missing anyone? Did Chelsea. City. Don't really want to put City in there because they're not really that good for clean sheets. And again, they rotate fullbacks every transfer window. So, yeah, Walker Peters could be could be a good shout in there. I'm just trying to think of attacking like fullbacks that are like a little bit more on the more expensive side. I think that's essentially all of them. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is sort this by expected goal involvement. For some reason, Pulisic is in here. I don't know why Pulisic is in here. I don't know why Fabinho is in here. I don't know why Sermon and Jordan are in here. I don't know why Tielemans is in here. I don't know why Ozzy Perez is in here. Anyway, we'll be looking at the ones with the check marks here. So in terms of expected goal involvement, Trent's obviously way up there, right? So that's no surprise here. And his baseline bonus is quite high. So minutes per XGI is also another thing that we can also take a look at. So if you look down the bottom here, Tierney is quite low, but that's definitely going to go up. Ben Davies is another one that's quite low. Again, you can see the players that have been injury riddled, they're quite low. And the Liverpool assets and Doherty, they just go up crazily. In terms of the minutes per XGI, we'll do the least amount. So again, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Doherty is actually higher than Robertson, and he played in a team in Wolves that was considered to be defensive. Mind you, Robertson's form has picked up quite significantly. So, and if you also look, Doherty, I believe that the X delta, the goals minus XG, shows that he actually, I believe, goals minus XG. So that means his XG his expected goals was higher than the number of goals he actually scored, which means in a Spurs team, he could potentially get more because he likes to come in and off the back post. Maybe Son's out wide, cross it in, back post, Doherty's there, and he might score more, which is good. Whereas the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, the likes of Ben Chilwell, Tierney even here, they exceeded the amount of goals versus their XG. So pretty interesting stat there. In terms of expected assists, obviously the two main men up there, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, again way up there. Chilwell surprisingly at number 3 out of all the defenders. Doherty does have Europa, which does put him up, but the thing is, he's gonna be the Mourinho type player. Like, you tell Doherty to defend, he's gonna play 90 minutes, and he's gonna stay on the entire game. That's basically what Mourinho is gonna do. Mourinho has his players that he likes. He'll keep them in the team all the time, and he'll rotate others. So, like, he'll run Kane to the ground. He's going to run Sissoko to the ground. He's going to run Doherty to the ground. He's going to play these types of players in their game in, game out. And he's never going to drop it. Lo Celso's another one who'll probably play in there, and maybe in the double pivot. So yeah, potentially some interesting things there. I don't know, when does Europa League start? Do you know, John Wick? I'm not even sure when the qualifiers even start, or for that, or even if they do have to do midweek after game week 1. Okay. Well, I mean, Spurs are going to want to start the season off right. I mean, they're probably playing some team. I don't even know who Spurs are even playing, but they can rotate midweek if they want. It's not the end of the world. You know, he could play Davinson Sanchez at right back because Mourinho's done that. He can play, you know, he's even played Eric Dyer at right back. He can do a bunch of different things that Mourinho does that's weird in terms of like resting his main men. They got Højbjerg as well to shore up the midfield a little bit. So they have a plethora of midfield options. Like, let's actually go back and take a look at just Spurs' team as a whole. So yeah, remember, Danny Rose is still back at the club. He's a backup to Davies. Tanganga, we forgot about him. He can also play at a right back. Foyth can play there. Sessegnon can play there. They have a lot of players that can play there. So I think he's going to play Doherty in all the games that matter in the Premier League. Then once they start getting to the crunch games in Europa, because I think Spurs will probably win it, to be fair. Because that's a Mourinho type of thing that he would want to do. And I think Spurs' team is good enough to do it. Assuming they don't run into Sevilla, who will just beat everyone apparently. He's gonna play. He'll play Doherty in the league, at least up until the point where they know the league could just be dead, and then they go for Europa League. So like there was a point in when he was manager for United, where United was like, okay, we're not gonna get into the top 4. Or like it was looking unlikely, and we're kind of floating around 5th, 6th, and we're still far enough away. And he just prioritized the Europa League, and then he just won that. So, yeah. And then baseline BPS baseline is another interesting stat here. So if we look, Robertson all of last season was slightly higher than Trent overall. Wan-Bissaka was quite high. Very good defensively, but the likes of you know, on average, the likes of Reece James and Shaw and these types of players, they're going to be a lot lower anyway if they're less involved in goals or assists, as well as teams that keep, you know, clean sheets. Chelsea didn't keep many clean sheets. Doherty I expected to be a little bit higher, but his, you know, they did get a lot of their clean sheets after restart. Even though Wolves were decent defensively, so maybe I have to fine tune the table here. But again, yeah, shout out to Fantasy Football Scout. They make a wicked site. A lot of people are using it for stats, so I have to go find their tables and maybe I can bring those in to some of our videos for informative information. But the stats you should be looking at is XG, XA, so expected assists, expected goals. XGI, which is expected goal involvement, so that's how often they're going to be involved in a goal or an assist. And then another thing is baseline bonus average, so how often does a player get in the bonus. And then lastly is minutes per start is another thing that you can also look at as well. How often does a player get subbed? Do they get 90 minutes on average? Do they get 80 minutes? Do they get 70? Do they get 50? It all depends. So you have to kind of check that out for those stats. And it's all in Fantasy Football Scout. I'm not sure if the offer is still on. They had a reduced offer, but it's pretty cheap. It ends up working out to be like £1.50 or whatever it is in terms of British currency per month, which is ridiculous across a whole year. It's like that's hardly anything, really. You know, if you think $1.50, you think, okay, every time I want to buy a cheap chocolate bar, I'll bypass the chocolate bar, lose a little bit extra weight, and also get to work on my FPL team and help myself out. But yeah, we're gonna keep this more involved. I'm still getting used to it and still looking at some things that like the useful stats and learning how to, interpret stats in that way. And that's what I want to incorporate into the stream here as well, so that you guys can be more informed as well. We're closing in on 3 million players as well. If you haven't done so, also make sure to join our league. The league code's way up the top there. I've seen a lot of people in there. I've joined a bunch of leagues too. So yeah, let's check out the Flames recruits here. Yeah, we got a lot of people in here, so it should be quite interesting going into this season overall. I've joined a bunch of different leagues here as well, and yeah, it should be quite interesting. But yeah, let's swap over to the main cam here. So I don't know why the title still says Premier League fixtures are out, but that's okay. Yeah, so that's going to be it for today's stream. The next stream that you will see me on will be an hour before the deadline on Saturday of the first day of games for the FPL season. So the deadline on at my time, and I'm 1 hour ahead of Eastern daylight saving time, EDT, or I don't know what the time thing is, but it's 7 o'clock my time is the deadline, which means it's 6 o'clock EST is the deadline, which means I'll be up 6 o'clock and EST is 5 o'clock, and West Coast it'll just be, yeah, you just stay up past midnight, and it'll be fine. And the first game is Arsenal Fulham. And yeah, actually, you know what? We might do. I might do instead of like a team reveal video, I'll do a stream for that. We'll have the team obviously up on the screen, but I also got to do. We got to do our predictions. We got to see if we're right. We got to do our differential picks and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be a bit wonky for the first week, but it's still fun. And then we can kind of check that out. But yeah, the interesting ties right off the bat. How good are Leeds going to play? How badly are Chelsea going to embarrass Brighton? Are Wolves and Sheffield United going to be worth looking at defensively? Can Leicester regain their form? Is Crystal Palace going to be a whipping boy, as the Scoutcast has deemed that term, which is basically just means the team that concedes a bunch of goals? And how serious are Spurs and Everton this season? So yeah, we're going to be taking a look at all of that. So yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll do a stream. It'll probably be the same time as this one started, so 7 p.m. EST for that stream on the Friday, and then we'll do the deadline stream, which will be in like 8 hours after that initial stream. But yeah, Sleepless Nights starts from today till deadline. Exactly. That's what we're saying. And it's not going to be sleepless nights. It's sleepless days. It's sleepless lunch hours. When you thought that you could have reprieve, where you thought that you could have just a little bit of nourishment, just to take your mind off things, just to relax yourself, you're still thinking, you know what? That piece of chicken looks like Harry Kane. I think I need to consider him. Or, you know, it could be anything. I'm not so sure on that one. Or maybe you start picturing things in you know, maybe you got you wake up first thing in the morning and you got your, what's it called? The alphabets, I think it's called, is the cereal, and maybe the letters float around and it spells Leeds or something, or maybe it spells like AUB for like Aubameyang, and that's who you're gonna captain over Salah or something game week 1. Who knows? There could be a bunch of different things. Some people are superstitious about that. I have my own kind of little things is there. But yeah, Havertz as well. Price could come out tomorrow morning. That could just take a straight wrench straight through my monitor, and you might see Havertz in my team depending on what his price is. Because if he's the same as Pulisic, then there could be that could be just basically a Pulisic placeholder as well, depending on how deep he's playing. So yeah, we'll see how that all goes. But yeah, great stream. We went over, I believe we went over an hour for actually being live. Apologies for the technical difficulties at the beginning. But yeah, a week today, same time. I'll post again over on Twitter. Make sure you give us a follow over there. Make sure to follow us on all the platforms. Pilotplan226, you know the deal. You know where to find all the stuff in the description below. And until the next one, see ya!